My name is Amelia, and I need to tell you about the most satisfying 3 months of my professional life. It started with a discovery that made my blood boil and ended with justice so sweet I still smile thinking about it. I'd been working as a senior marketing coordinator at Pinnacle Solutions for 2 years. The job itself was fine. I loved the creative campaigns, the client relationships, the whole strategic side of things. What made my life hell was Rebecca Martinez, my direct supervisor. Rebecca was the kind of boss who made you question whether you were losing your mind. She'd assign projects with impossible deadlines, then act shocked when you asked for clarification. She'd take credit for your ideas in meetings, then criticize your lack of initiative in your performance reviews. The woman had turned micromanagement into an art form. But I needed this job. The economy was rough, and Pinnacle paid well. So I kept my head down, documented everything, and told myself things would get better. They didn't. The breaking point came on a Tuesday morning in March. I was grabbing coffee in the break room when Jenny from HR mentioned she'd been reviewing applications for some new positions. "Oh, are we hiring?" I asked, stirring my coffee. "Yeah, Rebecca's looking to fill a senior marketing coordinator role. Actually, the job description sounds exactly like what you do." Jenny paused, looking confused. "Wait, aren't you the senior marketing coordinator?" The coffee cup nearly slipped from my hands. I spent my lunch break in my car, hands shaking as I scrolled through job boards on my phone. There it was, posted on LinkedIn, Indeed, and 3 other sites, Senior Marketing Coordinator Pinnacle Solutions. Posted 2 weeks ago. The job description was my job description. Word for word. They'd even included the project management responsibilities I'd taken on voluntarily, the client relationships I'd built from scratch, the campaign successes that had brought in over $200,000 in new business last quarter. But here's the thing that really got me. They were offering $8,000 more than my current salary. I sat in that parking lot for 20 minutes, reading and rereading the posting. Rebecca wasn't just planning to replace me. She was planning to replace me with someone she'd pay more than she was paying me. That's when I knew I had to be smart about this. I'd been documenting Rebecca's behavior for months, mostly out of frustration. Every unreasonable deadline, every time she'd taken credit for my work, every condescending email, I had it all saved in a folder on my personal cloud drive. I'd even recorded a few of our meetings on my phone when she'd started the really nasty stuff. See, Rebecca had a habit of calling me into her office for what she called performance discussions. These weren't official meetings, they never appeared on calendars, and she never invited HR. She'd just shut her door and go off about how I was struggling to meet expectations and not showing leadership potential. The last one had been particularly brutal. She'd spent 45 minutes telling me I was obviously overwhelmed and perhaps not the right fit for a senior role. She'd even suggested I might be happier in a more junior position. I'd recorded the whole thing. But I needed more than just documentation. I needed strategy. I started paying attention to everything Rebecca did. Her calendar, her phone calls, her emails, anything I could observe without crossing any lines. And what I discovered was interesting. Rebecca had been having a lot of meetings with David Chun, the VP of Marketing. Meetings that weren't on the official calendar. Meetings that always seemed to happen when she thought I was at lunch or in client calls. I also noticed she'd been unusually interested in my project files lately. She'd asked me to update her on campaigns I'd been running independently for months. She wanted copies of my client contact lists, my campaign performance reports, my creative briefs. She was building a case to fire me, and she wanted to make sure my replacement would have everything they needed to step right in. The final piece of the puzzle came from an unexpected source. Marcus, one of the junior marketing assistants, stopped by my desk on a Friday afternoon. "Hey Amelia," he said, looking around nervously. "Can I ask you something? Off the record." I nodded. Rebecca asked me to help her with a project. She wants me to put together a report on all the campaigns you've managed, including the ones that didn't perform as well. He shifted uncomfortably. She said it was for a quarterly review, but it feels weird. Like she's looking for dirt. My stomach dropped. What kind of dirt? Any campaign that came in over budget, any deadlines that were missed, any client feedback that wasn't perfectly positive. She's being really thorough. Marcus looked around again. "I don't know, maybe I'm paranoid, but it feels like she's building a case against you." I thanked Marcus and spent the weekend thinking. Rebecca wasn't just planning to fire me, she was planning to fire me for cause. She wanted to make sure I couldn't collect unemployment, couldn't get a good reference, couldn't fight back. But she'd made one crucial mistake. She'd posted my job while I was still employed. Monday morning, I walked into Rebecca's office with a printed copy of the job posting. "I saw this over the weekend," I said, placing it on her desk. "It looks exactly like my current position." Rebecca barely glanced at it. "Oh, that. We're looking to expand the marketing team. This would be a different role. It has the same job title as my current position. Well, we might need to restructure some things." She didn't even look up from her computer. "I'm sure you understand that business needs change." I waited for her to give me something more, but she just kept typing. So I played my next card. "I've been thinking about my career development lately," I said. "I'd love to discuss some of the concerns you've raised about my performance." Now she looked up. "What concerns?" "The ones you mentioned in our meeting last week. About me being overwhelmed and not showing leadership potential." Rebecca's eyes flickered. "I don't recall that conversation." "Really? Because I do. In detail." We stared at each other for a long moment. Then she smiled, that cold corporate smile that never reached her eyes. "Amelia, I think there might be some miscommunication here. Perhaps we should schedule a formal meeting to discuss your role and your future with the company." "I think that's a great idea," I said. "Should we include HR?" "That won't be necessary." But I was already 3 steps ahead of her. That afternoon, I requested a meeting with David Chun. I didn't go through Rebecca. I didn't give her a heads up. I just sent David an email with a simple subject line, "Urgent matter regarding my position." David's assistant called me within an hour. Could I meet with him first thing Tuesday morning? I spent Monday night preparing. I printed out everything, the job posting, my documentation of Rebecca's behavior, my performance reviews, my campaign results, even the recordings from our informal meetings. I organized it all in a neat folder and practiced my presentation. Tuesday morning, I walked into David's office with my folder and my resignation letter. But I didn't plan to use the resignation letter unless I had to. "Thank you for making time for me," I said, sitting across from his desk. "I need to discuss some concerns about my position and my direct supervisor." David leaned back in his chair. "I'm listening." I started with the job posting. I showed him the listing, explained how it matched my current role exactly, and pointed out that they were offering more money for the same position I was already doing. "This is concerning," David said, frowning at the printout. "Rebecca didn't mention she was looking to replace you." "She's not just looking to replace me," I said. "She's building a case to fire me for cause." I showed him Marcus's report request, the pattern of performance discussions that were never documented, the way Rebecca had been collecting my work to ensure a smooth transition. But the real bombshell was the recording. "I need to be clear about something," I said. "I recorded our last meeting because I felt like I was being targeted for termination without cause. I know this isn't something you'd normally want to hear, but I think you need to understand what's been happening." David listened to 15 minutes of Rebecca berating me, criticizing my performance, and suggesting I wasn't capable of doing the job I'd been successfully doing for 2 years. His face got darker with every minute. "This is completely inappropriate," he said when the recording ended. "These concerns she's raising, they're not reflected in your performance reviews at all. Your numbers are excellent." "I know," I said. "That's why I think there's something else going on here." I didn't have to spell it out. David was smart enough to connect the dots. Rebecca was trying to fire me to bring in someone else, probably someone she knew, someone who would be more compliant, at a higher salary. "I need to investigate this," David said. "Can you give me copies of everything you've shown me?" "Of course." "And Amelia? I want you to know that your job is secure while we figure this out. Don't worry about anything Rebecca might say or do. You report to me now, effective immediately." I walked out of that meeting feeling lighter than I had in months. But the real satisfaction came 2 weeks later. I was working late on a campaign proposal when I heard raised voices from David's office. Through the glass walls, I could see Rebecca in there, gesturing wildly. David was sitting behind his desk, his face stone-cold serious. The meeting lasted 30 minutes. When Rebecca came out, her face was red and her hands were shaking. She walked straight to her office, packed her things, and left without saying a word to anyone. David called me into his office the next morning. "I wanted to update you on the situation," he said. "Rebecca's employment with Pinnacle Solutions has been terminated." I tried to look surprised. "Really? What happened?" "Let's just say her management style wasn't aligned with our company values," David said diplomatically. "But I also wanted to discuss your future here." He offered me Rebecca's position. Not just her responsibilities, her actual position, with the title, the office, and a $15,000 salary increase. "I've been watching your work for the past 2 years," he said. "Your campaign results speak for themselves. The clients love you. And frankly, after reviewing everything you brought to me, I realize we've been undervaluing your contributions." I accepted on the spot. But the story doesn't end there. A week later, I was cleaning out Rebecca's office when I found something interesting in her desk drawer. A folder labeled, "Amelia Performance Issues." Inside were printouts of every small mistake I'd made over the past 6 months. Every campaign that had come in slightly over budget, every deadline that had been tight, every client email that had required follow-up. She'd been documenting everything, building her case piece by piece. At the bottom of the folder was a draft termination letter, dated for the following week. She'd been planning to fire me the day after she thought she'd have a replacement lined up. I threw the whole folder in the trash, but not before taking a picture of that termination letter. Sometimes you need reminders of how close you came to losing everything. 6 months later, I'm still in Rebecca's old office. I've hired 2 new team members, including Marcus, who's turned out to be brilliant at campaign strategy. Our department's performance has improved by 30%, and I've been invited to present our results to the executive team. But the best part? Last month, I got a LinkedIn message from someone asking about the senior marketing coordinator position at Pinnacle Solutions. They'd seen the posting and wanted to know if it was still available. I checked the job boards. Rebecca's posting was still up on 3 different sites. I sent the person a polite message letting them know the position had been filled internally. Then I called IT and asked them to take down the postings. After all, I wouldn't want anyone to get the wrong idea about what positions were available at Pinnacle Solutions. The job posting that was supposed to replace me had been up for 7 months after Rebecca got fired. 7 months of advertising for a position that didn't exist, posted by a manager who was no longer with the company. I could have taken it down sooner, but honestly, I liked the reminder. Some people might say I was vindictive, that I should have just quit and found another job, that I should have let Rebecca's behavior slide and focused on my own career. But here's what I learned: sometimes standing up for yourself isn't about being the bigger person. Sometimes it's about being the smarter person. Rebecca thought she could push me out quietly, replace me with someone more compliant, and continue her pattern of toxic management. She thought I'd just disappear without a fight. She was wrong. And now, every time I sit in her old office, every time I lead a team meeting, every time I approve a campaign budget, I remember that sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even. It's about getting ahead. The job posting is finally down. But I'm still here, doing the work I love, managing a team that actually respects me, and earning more money than Rebecca ever made. Sometimes the best revenge is just being better at the job than the person who tried to take it away from you. And sometimes, if you're really lucky, you get to do it from their old office.